Revit to IFC. Menno, from your experience, what do you think, what do you see that are the main challenges when somebody tries to convey data from Revit to an IFC?
I think mostly lack of knowledge of the IFC schema, the assumption that everything is set correctly so they can just hit a button and export. That's one of the main things, I think. Yeah, people not checking or not checking whether all the settings are correct. I think that's something, because some settings are set on your computer or on your Revit session. You start exporting something. Just today, I had got an email from the contractor that says, I cannot see your model anymore because I was testing something and now I was exporting it on the real world coordinates, so it was rotated somewhere 400 kilometers away. And I forgot to reset that one setting, so that's, yeah. Then if I uploaded it to BIM 360, it was gone. I couldn't see it, you know. They don't know how that works. Yeah, so even I sometimes make these stupid mistakes, like, oh yeah, got to do that. And a lot of people don't even know that it's possible to export on different sites maybe. So they just export and say, oh, I don't know how to fix it. And then
I see.
That's something, yeah. And of course, there are a lot of settings that you need to.
I asked Menno about what are usually the challenges we face when we export from Revit to IFC. And before he goes on with that, let me ask you the same question. What do you see that are the biggest challenges when it comes to when you try to export from Revit to IFC? The most common one that I personally believe is that way too many people are just clicking on export IFC and that's it. They don't try to prepare the settings, the proper settings for that. So they stick to the basic integration in Revit, and that would be I think is the biggest mistake somebody can make if you really want to get a decent quality IFC. So I'd love to hear from you also, which you yourself think it's like the people joining the meeting, the participants. What do you think that? What do you feel that it's your biggest challenge when it comes to this? And now, Menno, you can please go on with.
Yeah, I think that. Well, like I already said, everybody heard that. I think the main challenges are that, especially what you're already saying, that people just push export. They just push a button and think it's okay, and then they export without looking at the settings, and then they send it away without looking at the IFC. So it's two checks that are not done, and it's lack of knowledge of the IFC schema, I think, which I can understand, but yeah, that you can fix that by a good library or by having people at the office that know that stuff, that can do the settings. Because you don't need to, well, of course, I think you need to know all the 41 settings of the IFC exporter, but you don't really need to know everything as long as you know what the right settings are for your office or for your project. And of course, there are many different export settings that you can set. For one project, I sometimes need to export one model in 3 different ways. I can ask, can you export just the prefabricated concrete slabs from your project? So the manufacturer can just use that. Because probably you cannot use our model correctly, so they just want that as an export. And of course, that's not so hard, but you need to know how that works and how to export only the things you need. And of course, check your model. I also make mistakes sometimes that I forget to reset the site settings, for example. If I upload it to a contractor and I thought, yeah, I uploaded it yesterday, but then I forgot that this morning I was doing some testing with the coordinates and the model is like 45 degrees 400 kilometers away. So that's
yeah. So
yeah,
if
I think
we,
so. And then
in a
also the
nutshell,
knowledge, mostly knowledge of what is possible and what files need to go where. You have the parameter mapping, you have the custom property sets, all that stuff. You can switch them around accidentally, export to.
wait 1 second. Let me mute everyone else. There was a bit of noise, so I needed to mute everyone. So everyone, please mute your microphones, and let's have only Menno on speaking, at least for now. You'll get the chance to ask your questions if you want to do that later on. Yeah. So what you were saying? What were you saying, Menno?
Basically, knowledge of what is possible and what files go where. Parameter mapping is something that needs to go somewhere below the property sets, custom property sets. But if you don't know exactly the name of those files, people maybe, I have it added in our office, that people are using the wrong file in the wrong place. Then, of course, your IFC is not exporting correctly. So, yeah, that's all not a problem as long as you check your file. And if you check it and you see that it's not correct, yeah, then you can fix it. But usually people export a bit late in the afternoon, so they don't have that much time to check.
Yeah, it's a bit difficult to do a detailed check at the end of the day. That would be maybe best to do it in the coming day before you, but make sure you don't share that with anyone. Or if you have an IDS, but yeah.
Yeah. So I'm also curious, everybody, how often do you export your models?
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, and I would say how many times a week would you export it? And
okay,
if I get some answers, like we'll see, I'll give you mine.
Okay, so you heard it, everyone. How often do you export it? Yeah, it's annoying the Chi-Min. How can I mute that? Can you tell me how can I do that? Because I'm on my phone and it's not so easy to find these settings, guys. If I mute myself, will that sound stop? Do you have any idea? Or it's from the settings? Yeah, so you're
once a week.
50 times or 20, yeah.
Yeah, Kevin, a weekly share. But does that mean that you only export once and then that's it? No. You export.
Well, there I'm saying generally every production team in the project will have a weekly export to do. So one for each model per team.
Yeah, but that's the export that you send away. So how many times before that final export did you export? Do you, because I check my models, well, I export it daily if I work on a project.
Yeah. Well, me in my role, I will do more because I'll be the one checking and setting up the configuration and so on. But the teams themselves, the production teams, they'll just hit export and send. And for me, my job involves trying to get them to open it in a viewer and actually look at what they've exported.
Yeah.
And encourage them to do a visual check.
Yeah, and especially if if your model is correct, and you can just check it or export it every day to see, okay, it looks the same, because sometimes you just start exporting something with spaces or without spaces. I have models that I export where I only need to export the areas, because contractors don't like all these spaces, so they just want the rooms to be exported. So I have a setting that only exports geometry and rooms and not the areas, but then I also want to have the areas, so that's a different export. So yeah, if you mix that, if you set that file and you just hit export and send it, then you get an empty or seemingly empty model. So that's what I'm trying to also in our office, trying to say, if you model something, if you're working on starting modeling fences and you did your first 2 fences, you export to see if it works. And then if you know that it works, then you can continue on the rest of the 98 fences. So that's yeah, that's something that's quite important to see, to export and check, and especially if you're doing new stuff in your model.
Yeah. Menno, let me ask you something. Actually, let me first say something else. So I cannot fathom one thing, right? Here where I live in Norway, I work on a project where we work model based, and mainly IFC deliveries. There are many clients in Norway whom have started to request IFC model deliveries on all their projects, right? Yet at the same time, there is no university or school or private school teaching about IFC schema and how to export from these tools to IFC. But you know what it is? Actually, there are private courses from the ArchiCAD and from Revit resellers. But what is very interesting is that a course from them costs like I think north of 1,000 euros or something like that. So and I think that's crazy. That's crazy. It's way too expensive. And it should be like we ask for somebody and to deliver us something that we never teach them, right? So I'm very curious about one thing, actually. Menno, why did you actually start to learn how to export properly IFC? Like, what in the beginning when you started? I assume you also started there where everyone just click on export from Revit and you got the shitty IFC model output, right? Do you remember when happened that? When did you start working with exporting?
Yeah, that's exactly 10 years ago, actually.
Wow, congratulations. We have a celebration here.
Maybe not March 1st, but quite a celebration, because I started March 1st, 2000 in this office. So today is my 24th anniversary, but
wow.
I guess next year it's a party. But in 2014, I think it was, it was not March, but I think it was April or May, we started doing BonsaiBIM, the very big housing project in Amsterdam. And that was the start of openBIM in the Netherlands, basically, where 2 contractors, Dura Vermeer and Meet de Nijs, they were combining their forces to build this project. And they wanted to have a building permit in August, and they wanted to have it in openBIM. And we succeeded, only because the people involved, they were setting up this execution plan, protocols. They say, we want to have it openBIM, so we need to go to the IFC schema. We had a lot of help with what they wanted it and how, and it was new for everybody. And I think that was also a great time that we were all in it together, because nobody actually, well, there were projects, but mainly government projects, I think, but this is a big housing project. This was really one of the first big projects that we did, where we had to deliver the IFC models on a weekly basis from the definitive design building permit phase on. So that was even before we went into the technical stuff. And well, the great thing is the BIM-based IDS was formed after that, but that's what we did. Basically, they said, okay, I want to have spaces. I want to see all the housing numbers. We had like the building, the numbers of every dwelling. Every room should have the housing number in it, like just the number. So, well, how do you do that? I don't know. Let's just try. So we tried a lot, and yeah, I guess it was a great team that we like to try and see what happens and what do you want. Well, let's see if we can fix it. So it was, and I was the right person for that because I was really into this technical stuff and into Revit and also the IFC things that was laid up upon me for you need to do that. It's like, okay, let's see what that is. And then I never stopped. I just kept on exploring. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Please have a look at the comments in the chat because it's not so easy for me to handle from the mobile, and see what you can answer from there.
It was all once a week exports. Thing Vanessa says, for me, the thing that often gets lost in the process is the objective and consequently the use of the model in IFCs. So my question is, what should we ask ourselves when setting up property sets for IFC export? What should be the short to-do list? Should we ask ourselves setting up property sets? The reseller can't teach how to export because they are not designers. They do not work based on real projects with real problems. Yeah, that's something. I think what we need to set as a minimum is the IFC schema. So we need to have the IFC property sets that are compliant with the IFC schema. So we need to have the entities, the predefined types, and every valid property. And that's very important. So if we say it's in a staircase or like it's a slab, you go up a stair and then this landing, it's in English it's easy. You have a stair flight, landing, stair flight. So that should be a slab. It's a slab, but what kind of, it's a slab with predefined type landing, and it has several properties. And the importance is for that is that there are 1,001 tools that can read IFC. So all those tools are built by resellers or by people that know a bit of Python and IFC OpenShell. So there are so many tools with so many different goals or ways of why they build that tool for a specific purpose or general purpose or whatever. That tool only knows the IFC schema. So every file that they read, if it's not compliant to the IFC schema, it cannot read that file correctly. So that's why the bare minimum is always the IFC schema. And of course you can say, if you have a fence, like an IFC railing with a predefined type balustrade, there is a parameter, a property that says diameter. Of course, if you don't have round balustrades, but there are like steel strips or it's a glass panel, of course, you don't have to set diameter because that's impossible. But if you have, you should also add to that. And then, of course, if you do that, people who get your models, they say, oh, they know how to model. And then the contractors, usually they would ask for more information. And then you can start adding that into their custom properties, custom property sets.
All right. Can I go ahead with something? Because my hand is hurting trying to keep it raised. No, I'm kidding. That's good. That's a great point. Let me say something about this because I have some ideas about how you should export this property sets and so on, what you should do. I think in the first place, but I'm sure that that's not the case for most of us. this should come from the client. Actually, you should not need to think about what you need to export in your IFC model. That should be in the requirements from your client. Ideally, again, ideally, I think most of us don't have this luxury. And when you need to do it yourself, you need to actually like, if you have the chance to ask the client, even if they don't have a specification, at least to ask them a bit about the level of the details that they want. This would be the first thing. So like, would you want me to include the quantities and some product information that is specific? So you will try, like, there are two things that I would do. First, I would try to figure out from a place, from somebody, from external resources, from the client or other collaborators, people who are working with these things. I'll try to understand, to grasp the level of the information they want. If you don't have that already specified. If you have that specified, and even if you don't have it, after you, let's say that you are in a point where you got everything you need, you know what you need to export, then you go and you deal with IFC schema. And then you have two things. When it comes to this, you should always use what is already in the IFC schema. It's very important to have in mind one thing. IFC schema, it's something that allows you to be very flexible. You can design your own standard inside IFC schema, but it would be dumb to do that if you already have that structure and you can use it as an international standard, right? So very often I encounter in some projects, I see that some clients want to have some very detailed, very specific information that is already provided by default by IFC schema, but they want a specific custom name in front of their property set or something like that. And that's a waste of time and resources, of course. And it makes a lot of confusion, and you don't use the strongest points of using a standard. That's the whole point of a standard, right? To employ it, to use the standard structure. So I would go there, and only after I used the schema itself, then I go, okay, I have some things that they are not shown anywhere. Then I go and I make my cool Petru P set where I put all my information that I want. So that's how I would approach when it comes to property sets. We have some more questions here or comments.
Yeah, that's Koen asks about the geolocation for projects in Holland. For instance, we have the RD coordinates for the production phase. And what is your experience with co-makers? Experience resistance from co-makers that use different software to produce factoring production models? Well, that's easy because we all work in Revit here, right? Because this is Revit to IFC, and it's easy to add 1 to 500 sites to Revit and export whatever you want. So I always export with the coordinated origin, which is the Revit internal origin, which is at 0, which is exactly where the project base point and the survey point is. That's always 0. And in the Netherlands, we agree that that's usually 10 meters southwest or bottom left of the grid lines of the building. So the 0 point is always outside the building, and every location, if you click on an element in the building, it's always a positive number, which is not really necessary, but that's how we do it. It makes sense. And that's how we export everything, and everybody can do that. You can do that in SketchUp or Tekla or Archicad. It's no problem. And during the construction phase, the only thing why we would need to have the geolocation rotated is basically for the site. If we want to export the site, maybe with the sun settings, or to get the exact coordinates of the points of the building site, because that's what usually people would like to know. Where do I have to start building? Yeah, you have to start building at coordinate 478,212 to the north and 124,202 to the right. That's somewhere in the Netherlands, because that's our RD coordinates. And you can just export it. You can say set it. And the nice thing with the new version of Revit 2024 and exporting with the newest exporter is that you don't even have to set your site. You can set that in the exporter itself, which makes it a lot more flexible. But also you have to take care that you reset that setting if you export again.
Yeah. There was something more, Matthew. I don't know. I think you are blessed because your clients don't even know about IFC because you don't need to deal with, or you can be a God modus, right? You can just make it however you want and make them follow you. So yeah, it's a blessing in disguise.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think the difficult thing is the projects that I work on, semiconductor projects, are typically in the area of $100 billion CapEx projects. And so they're very complex projects and they have a lot of metadata requirements, but the metadata requirements vary from client to client. They all have their own secret recipe in the way they want to handle metadata. And so I've been more interested in IFC because I feel like it's a way to universally create a standard within our own company for handling those types of requirements.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yes. So, Menno. Okay. So I think there was one more question or two. So then you can go on. Yeah. Me too. Go ahead first.
Does the quality of IFC exports determine the effectiveness of IDS, or can IDS be used to access the quality of the IFC export? Yeah, IDS, great. You need IDS. So your IFC quality will improve really fast. Because with IDS, of course, you can say it has to be something. And if you export and you run the IDS, it says it is something else. So, and it doesn't say it's something else. It says it's something else and it has to be this. So you can fix it. So IDS is also a way for us BIM managers, coordinators, whatever, to teach the modelers about the schema or about the requirements in general. Doesn't really matter, but yeah, you can make really cool rule sets to get for brickwork. You know, if the name contains brickwork, then you need to have there has to be a classification that starts with 21 or 21.12, and then you need to have is external set to true, and so on. You can just add a lot of stuff to rapidly enhance the quality of your exports.
Yeah, cool. Very, very well explained. See what Leonardo also has to say, if you have any feedback regarding that, and then you can, yeah, we can go ahead and try to unveil what is this course you made for.
Yeah. When exporting from Revit to IFC, get a very small angle of rotation. Throws the import on structured BIM software completely off. I have no idea. I do know that there were in Revit, I think the last year or the year before, there was a period of time where there were some exporters that were not really working very well. Also had some issues with classifications, and I sometimes had also something with the height. I don't know what exactly, but when I was importing IFC in Revit, it would end up 20 millimeters higher or something. So maybe this has something to do with an older version, or otherwise, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I guess this you need to troubleshoot this. Like you need to look at the file itself. He was using Revit 2021, but yeah, depends. Like if he installed the plugin, the Revit to IFC plugin from GitHub, if you are using the built-in, there are many variations here. So
yeah, true.
So
Yeah.
if I may, Petru and Minnow, I have a follow-up question on that particular subject. And if it gets too far in the weeds, just tell me to stop. But the one thing I've been wondering about with the IFC, you can open up IFC in a text editor, in a code editor, all the code is open source. And so you have geolocation coordinates in there for your X, Y, and Z. Can those coordinates be overridden? So can you change the geolocation of a model by simply changing the coordinates inside of a text editor and saving it? Will
I
it move the
never
model?
tried in the text model in the text file, but since that's what's happening when you do it in Blender BIM, I would assume that should work.
Yeah, and note that the georeference is something that is in IFC4.
Better support, yeah, and in IFC 2x3, it's a bit,
Before
it's not really
IFC
called geolocation, yeah. It's a
IFC projected CRS is basically what the entity is called. So but if you take an IFC and you edit that file, you can basically also delete walls and maybe rename some things that you don't like, delete or add property sets. That's a nice thing. That's also a lot of tools that use IFC can do. That's why it's good to know the schema and work with according to the schema. So other tools can do that. And of course, well, if you export it, you still have the file. So if somebody just messes up your file and says your file is wrong, you can say, well, this is what I've sent you. So it's a different file. Of course, you can check it, but you can do it with a Word file as well, or an Excel. You can just change the numbers. But yeah,
great. Yeah, Kevin confirms that. He says that he edited the coordinates in his IFC file with text editor, and it worked. Yeah, it makes sense to work. Yeah. Menno, did you have a keynote or something, like a brief few slides about this? What is this? Let's tell us what is this? What did you prepare for us? What is this course? Who is this for, and who is it not for, and what people will learn if they go through this course?
Yeah, I will. So the course is for everybody who is working in Revit, exporting to IFC, and I think I would say it's for every modeler. But you could also say it's for the BIM managers or coordinators that are setting up the export files. But as I mentioned, and I will show you, I'll start sharing my screen here. And so this is not the full PowerPoint for that course, but it's I deleted some stuff so I could go through it faster. I didn't even introduce myself, but a lot of people already know who I am, I think. Building engineer, let me just go and minimize this. No, go away. Well, you're there now. So, and I work for Aansluit Architects. And sorry, I need to get rid of this thing. Can I just put it somewhere here? Yeah, that's better. Yeah, and of course I work together with Petru to create courses for BIMvoice. And this is my second course. The course is called Revit 2 IFC, how to export. And
by the way, Menno, since you are talking about courses, BIMvoice courses and so on, can you please go to your browser and go to BIMvoice.com/learning and see what the only openBIM school in the world has there, and we have
this one or
a few other courses in the work. Learning. See if it works. Yeah, there you go. So here, very briefly, at the top, you have my openBIM roadmap, which is a free video and a checklist that you can get. And there you have the 3 courses that we have. The first one is the only IDS course that you will find in the world, the IDS course. Then an introduction, foundations for Blender, for people who are going to use Blender BIM by Lloyd Basia, which is very, very good intro. And now this one, which we are launching right now. And I'll put soon a link in the comments. You will get a discount. There will be a discount for I think for until Sunday evening. So if you are willing to join, you'll get some discount there. I'll put the link in the comments. Menno, you can go back to your slides and go on. I'll leave the comment.
So this is me. Basically, how I divided the course is, of course, some basics, or not to IFC, but to Revit. Basically, well, this is the main problem, right? We need to export, we want to push a button, and if your settings are correct, you can. And as to for who it is, there is of course more in these chapters. First of all, the tools and references, you get some references, and what you see here is the version that I have used. So I used Revit 2024-2063 with this exporter. And the exporter is one of the most important things about exporting to IFC, but of course there are many other things like global settings that you need to set in Revit yourself or per project. And of course the external files. You need to have your shared parameter files. Maybe you want to or parameter mapping, user-defined property sets, and your IFC export classes mapping table, assembly codes if you use that, keynotes if you use that. So there are already 6 different files that you need to work with and set at the correct position. And then there, of course, every element has to have the correct entity, predefined type, and properties. So I think this is the basics. It's quite a lot, I think, but still. And of course, I have some nice advanced stuff about how to export parts from Revit. And well, spaces and zones are not really that complex, but it's something not everybody will use. How to use spaces or export rooms and areas into spaces and zones. And more on classification and some really funky parameter injection experimental stuff that nobody will use, but it's there and it's fun to show how that works. It's, well, a bit of a show-off thing. So what you see with the exporter is that this is the overview. You get the exporter with all these different settings. I didn't count all these, but there are like 41 buttons to push, only the exporter. And to be honest, I think that this one, 14, and another one is something that I'm not quite sure how it works, if it works, and it is important, but there are still almost 40 buttons that are important to know what they are and what's. And I will guide you through what choice you can make. And of course, you need to make the choices yourself, except for 15. Do not export your property sets at all. But let me go, just some examples. What we have here is, so this is how the course is. I'll just go through all these. Well, this is just a recap. I'll go through everything in this way, like a PowerPoint, explaining it with some examples. And after that, I have a demo where I show it, how I do that in Revit itself. Yeah, so I think most important thing is the property sets. That's why I kept it here, because that's the main thing about exporting the properties, getting the parameters in the right position. Yeah, so what you see here already is that there is a lot of property sets to be exported. So exporting Revit property sets is not something that you want. Let's see what we have here. Yeah, so this is basically the IFC properties, and I think you should, if you use them, or if you think that there can be an acoustic rating or a fire rating in your wall, you should export it. This is from Building Smart International, so this is a fixed list, but it's not always complete. And there are international definitions. They may refer to the national building regulations. Like here, you could say the fire rating always says, according to the National Fire Safety Classification. And that's why fire rating is a text and not a number, because we would say fire rating is 0 or 30 or 60. And we mean 60 minutes, but we only use the number 60. But maybe in other countries, they have maybe a letter in front of it, like, I don't know. So it's a text instead of a number, and it's something you, well, you can find here, label, boolean. And about the covering, for example, what you see here, if you have a regular covering, these are all the properties, the IFC properties that you can have. But if you are creating a ceiling or flooring, then you can have some extra property sets. So basically, if you are doing floor tiling, you can add these two parameters. Is it as in a non-skid surface, or is it anti-static? Because anti-static, it's only refers to floors, because it's useless to say that a ceiling is as a non-skid surface, for example. Yeah, so what you see here, oh, sorry, is basically one big output. It's, well, a big data drop where you have to find, look for the information. So what you see that this is like the export where we have set the Revit property sets to be exported. And you all know Revit, so you know that constraints, other phasing, identity data, graphics, dimensions, those are all parameter groups that exist in the families. And especially dimensions, you don't want those, because in order to create a window frame that's 3 meters wide and 2.5 meters high, with mullions in the middle with different dimensions, you need to have like 50 or 60 different dimensions to set the whole window frame to your wishes. But in the end, in the IFC, all you need is the width, the height, the thickness, and the manufacturer and the model, and maybe some other information. So you need a lot less information in IFC, in your export, in your output, than what you would need to model your family. And that's why you should always work with IFC. And of course, you can share your native files. I don't have a problem with that, but still sharing Revit files with each other, it's really hard to find the correct information. And IFC is a conscious export. What you see here is the same export, but then with the Revit settings exported turned off. What you see is that we just have a lot less properties. And especially this one, these are, I actually call them validated properties. So basically, I export, and then I create my own property set that says, look at, for the spaces, look at these, this property set, and you will see that the space name is called bedroom 1, and the dwelling type is dwelling type W4, building number, so the dwelling number is 24, it's in this part. Yeah, and the client wants something else. And that's the same for multiple clients. Yeah, so
yeah,
base quantities. here's something, and what I just, I think there was another slide, but maybe we'll get there, maybe we won't. This is something nice because I am exporting to IFC4 and with the newest exporter. And the great thing about IFC4 is that the materials have a lot more properties. So you can now export your material property sets, which means that in 2x3, you only would get the name of the IFC material. But if you set the materials, you actually get all the properties that you would have, and you can actually set your own as well. You can create your own custom properties for your materials. And I did have a question beforehand by Francesca.
Yeah, Menno,
Yeah.
I think you have there, but can you go, do you have, can you log in the course dashboard so you can just show a snapshot of all the chapters that you are going over in the course so everyone can see what is inside? And can you estimate how much time it would take to someone to go through this?
Oh, I don't know exactly. Can I click here?
No.
I do have it, but
no, you have access.
yeah, I need
So
to
not
find
there.
it. Where was it?
This is the community, so it's not here either.
Yeah, I know, but maybe you
It's
find
in another place.
Oh,
If you use it before here, otherwise on your email maybe. If you check your email for an email from me, from BIMvoice.
I did, but let's see where it is. I think, oh, I have one here at the, should be here in my library. I don't know.
Yeah, scroll down. There.
Yeah, there it is. There it is. I knew it was here. So this is how the course works. Basically, you get, it should start now. You get a nice introduction and thank you for purchasing. And basically, well, this is 7 minutes, and
if you go to reference, the reference, go to the reference a bit and tools, because here, if you go, you will see downloads, and in downloads there are assets, like everything Menno has used in the course, you will find there, so you'll be able to use yourself.
Yeah.
Including the presentation, like the PowerPoint of the course and the files, Revit files, IFC files, I think.
Yeah. So basically, what I was now explaining a bit, that's I think divided in a couple of videos, so you can see here how long it will take. It's site settings quite important. That's as far as that. Let's see.
I think you don't need to go through each of them. I think only the one with resources, it was most interesting. But I mean, just the chapters, right? Like what you are covering. You're covering the settings, then the global settings in Revit and so on, right? So so people can understand the scope that you are going. But like it's important to understand. Of course, it's not an advanced course. It's a course to get you started. Like if you are a very experienced user, probably it will help you with another point of view. But if you are not very confident and if you struggle with this, then this is definitely for you, right?
Yeah, so here's one example about the global settings where you can set all these six things like the name of the IFC site, the name of the building, stuff like that. This is, well, I'm sure you already know this, how to set your building stories. Exporting to schedules, also explain that, how that works. The big cross here, because what you see here is that I think that's important to know because, well, I am IFC enthusiast. So this is something that I think should be changed, because if you want to export a schedule, that's possible. What actually said, but especially common is something you should never add yourself to a property set, because that is reserved for the actual common property sets by Building Smart.
Yeah, for the official.
Yeah, for the official one. So you get confused if you create a whole common and that turns out to be a schedule that has a width and some other and some strange parameters that are not in the IFC schema itself.
Yeah, one thing, Mano, before you go ahead, everyone, if you have any other questions, please leave them now about the course itself. If you want to ask anything, please ask, because we are preparing to wrap it up soon. Mano, there is a question from Rick, I think. If you can answer to that one, and then you can go a bit more over slides, and hopefully we get more questions about the course. Can you see it? The last one?
Yeah. Standard Revit IFC exports have classifications labeled as uniformat. That's so stupid. Yeah, and other software also is different. My point of view, yeah, I actually have written a whole article on LinkedIn about it, and I think it's in Dutch, so sorry. But basically, you have to set it. You can just go to Revit, export properties, and here, classification settings. Or you can set keynote, but here you can say, I want to have the NLSK. This is, and here you can say assembly code. So basically, you are renaming the assembly code to the NLSB table 1 or whatever classification that you need. So you can do that. I explain how this works in the course, and also explain that, well, you've seen it here. If you use keynotes, you can also export keynotes as classification, but then you get your assembly code again as a uniformat, which is, well, I think it's quite stupid, because I don't know, I think uniformat is a American classification system, and we don't use that. Actually, there are many classification systems, but for that you can just add, do I have it here somewhere? It's in the course, and it is.
Yeah, by the way, everyone, I'll publish this video on YouTube, because I don't have your emails and I cannot send it. I'll publish the video on YouTube these days, so you will be able to rewatch it there if you want.
Yeah, so basically there are, one element you can classify to 1 million different classification codes in classification systems. Just add a number to it, either as instance or as type. And basically this is the syntax, how you do that. Between straight brackets, the name of the system, and then the classification code and the description. That's how easy it is. And what you see here, I'll show you the model itself. For example, this wall has this classification, and I also added 2 other ones. So basically this wall has 3 classifications. One is the system that we use, the NLSB, and the other one is the status. So basically what you can do is use these classifications for everything. You can also say this is like a digital markup, a digital revision. So you can see what the status is. So this is ready for checking. You can say it's ready, it has been changed, and you can use a date. So you can filter and sort your model even better. And if you have this one, you can also say, I want for cost calculations, maybe you have a different classification. You can add whatever you want. Just don't use the assembly code. Because, well, yeah, I don't like the assembly code, especially because it's type parameter, which is baked into Revit, and you cannot associate your nested families with that parameter. And if you use a classification code, you can. It's just an instance parameter, and you can just push the value through to all the nested families. Yeah, that's
All right.
your question. And where was it? Now it's.
So it looks like no one else has any other questions. But that's good. And that means that you did a great presentation, Meno. Yeah, there we go. We got one from Michele. No, not from Michele.
I need access to model coordinates may export. Hmm. Oh, exactly what you mean, but basically you go to your site settings.
Yeah, you can see
Yeah.
easily the coordinates in Blender BIM. In Blender BIM, you can see the coordinates and edit them if you need. I don't know what tools you are using, but I think it depends on the tool.
Yeah. Or you could go here, probably project. No, the site. It's the location of the site. So you can see here, this is the WSG84 location, which was already in 2x3. Well, this is a 2x3 model actually. And in a 4 model.
Yeah, because you did not
Yeah,
have
it's
the
somewhere else. I'm not sure. It's I do have a model open somewhere, but it's not open.
I think usually it's when you select, you need to select the model file name in the file tree, and then it will show you that. All right, Matthew. See you next time, man. Thank you very much for joining. See you around.
Yeah, well, you can go into it's the projected CRS. I'm not sure how to, well, it's there. You can find it, and I think it's here with local XYZ. You will get it correctly. I'm not sure if I have correct exported model for that. What you see is that there are many possibilities in.
Yeah, coordinates, Meno, coordinates, it's a very delicate topic. I think we can have a full course only on coordinates because it's geolocation is a very, very complex topic. And we are going to have actually more workshops about this with other guests as well and debate a bit more because it's not as straightforward as might seem, and yeah, it's a bit challenging.
Well, actually, you can see here if you have the setting to internal or your rotated element model, you can use the project size set to internal here, and then there are 6 choices: shared coordinates, project base point, project base point oriented to true north. So these are options. If you do this with internal, you can see that everything is at 0, but the RD system that we use is here. I also explain how you can do this in Revit. But if you set it to the rotated thing, then you also have different choices. So shared is still 0, and here you can see the eastings and northings, and the angle will be shown. And this is how it will be exported to Revit, these coordinates with the rotation. You can see that there are basically 2 different settings that are correct, and the rest is incorrect, unless you want to have the location but not the rotation. So there is, for every site you have, there are like 6 options. So basically, look at them and see what you want. And of course, check your model, because otherwise this is what you get.
All right. Okay, Meno, I think it's enough. We can wrap it up. Thank you everyone for joining. Like I said, I put in the comments the link to the course if you are interested to purchase it. If you decide to do that, we appreciate you for doing that. So thank you very much. And yeah, I'll also leave these comments in the event details on LinkedIn. And yeah, if you are a subscriber, if you joined Open BIMvoice letters, then you'll get an email tomorrow also about this with this. So yeah, you have roughly 50 euros discount. So I think, yeah, for you can save quite a significant amount of time, and I don't think only just, you don't need to go through this and learn it, learn to remember everything. You can also use it as a great resource afterwards. Like when you are working, if you don't remember how to do something, you can just go back to it, right? So yeah, I think, yeah. Yes, Menu, you wanted to say something?
No, not really, but oh, I can, do I still have it open? I know I'm not sharing, but is there,
Have a nice weekend.
was
Petru.
there a quiz questions already? Or did you add it yet?
No,
Oh. Because of course, every chapter has some questions.
I don't remember. I did not check. I think there are questions, or it was supposed to be. I got some help for that, and I did not check if they are there, but there will be anyway, and people will get notified. Can you see it? If you can see it in your end, right?
Let's see.
But there will be some quizzes after each chapter, of course, that will help you to reinforce what you learn. So yeah. All right. Thank you very much, everyone.
Question. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We, like I said, this discussion, this live meeting will be published only on YouTube, and you will be able to see it there. Thank you very much for joining, and we stay in touch.